Welcome to Creative Courage Chats, a search for a new understanding of creativity and problem solving. I'm Alex Raffi. Okay. So I'm here with Mikel Conrad. Thank you for showing up to another Creative Courage Chats. He's a good friend of mine. I've known for many years. He's a photographer. Yeah. He's very talented photographer. As far as portrait photography, I don't know if there's anybody better in town.
No, you're too kind. You're too kind.
As far as your lighting is fantastic. I mean, the lighting that you use, it's like
Thank you.
Amazing. And we're going to show some of the photography in this discussion. I've had the pleasure of having my picture taken from him. I think I'm going to need a new one.
It's been a while, yeah.
I'm going to need a new one because I look way too young in that picture. I found it. And I was like, I'm going to have to get, so I'm going to have to swing by and get another one and everything. And I'll let you do whatever you say. I'll just say yes to and just let it happen.
Bring a couple change of outfits. Let's have some fun.
Outfits? What? Yeah. I don't even call it outfits.
So bring in like a suit and tie and jacket. Look very executive, and then we'll make you look like a golfer. Like
sure.
A golfer.
Yeah. Well, either way, we'll definitely gonna do that. But
you know my motto: if I'm not having fun, nobody is.
This is true. I agree with that. I totally highly recommend anybody that's listening to this who lives in the Las Vegas area, Henderson area, swing by and visit. It's a beautiful studio. It's fantastic. He's got a space that is just really charming, and it's like you're on a movie set. It's a beautiful space he's got there, and I just highly suggest that you go out there. And you've been a champion for small business in Henderson for a long time too, which I also appreciate.
Yep.
Anyway, we're not even talking about photography yet, but I'm just.
That's right, man. Let's talk about this. My motto is if I can help others raise up, I'm going to raise up with them. We all raise together in the same ship. If I start saying me, then I'm going to sink. But if I say, hey, let's us work together, let's us do this as the small businesses, we're all going to raise up, and we all sink together, we all float together. That's my motto.
Right. And when somebody's totally complimenting you, you might as well let them do it.
I have a hard time with that, man. I'm so sorry. I have a hard time with that.
It's all right.
I'll be quiet.
That's the thing about, I've had this discussion too. And I think the last thing is the problem with artists is we tend to be too, we have too much humility sometimes, which is difficult because humility doesn't have to be bragging. Non-humility doesn't have to be bragging, but just sharing and expressing ideas and attitudes and stuff like that, because even though you're a photographer, a lot of your life philosophies fall into the creative side too. And I think that through your advice that you give people, whether it be through business or in general, in life in general, I think is as good as it is because of the fact that you are a visionary and creative in the way that you see things going forward. But that's just me throwing out my opinions about everything all the time. I'm talking too much. It's funny because this is an interview show, and I don't know if you've noticed that half of the time is spent with me rambling.
I've got the stopwatches going a couple times. Wow.
It's going back and forth. Anyway,
exactly.
Mikel,
you're good, man. You're good.
Now that I've been rambling a lot, I'm going to let you just maybe tell everybody a little bit about yourself and talk a little bit about what you do. Why don't you go ahead and share a little bit?
Yeah, no problem, man. Mikel Conrad, Mikel's photography and design. Started this 15 years ago. Actually, I've lived in Henderson, as you well know, all my life. My wife and I grew up on the same street together, 5 or 6 blocks from my studio. So I married the girl next door. Now, did she like me when we were growing up? Probably not. No, she didn't like me. I had to convince her after high school and after my mission and whatnot that she should like me. And so it took a few years. But, I've lived on Water Street, and that's why I'm such a big proponent for Water Street, because I love it. Small town, grew up here. Water Street on the heyday when I was a kid. You cruised Water Street, not Freeway, you cruised Water Street. Photography wasn't my forte. It was, I was going to be not the knight in shining armor. I was going to be that police officer and that fireman, that paramedic that went out and saved the damsel in distress. Things didn't work out that way, and sometimes the Lord has a good different direction for you. You take it, you follow that direction. So, but I've been blessed. I'm creative. I always loved photography. I've always played with it. I've always loved Loved the creatives I've seen as grown up, from National Geographic to Ansel Adams, all these great creatives in the outdoors. I'm a big outdoor proponent, as you know. Scouting, outdoor adventures, I'm all over that. Fishing, camping, backpacking, all that kind of good stuff. And I thought I can do those kind of things. So I played. And then a friend of mine says, hey, I need you at the studio. If those old timers remember photography by Van and Homer back in the day, it was like the studio to go to. And I worked there for 10 years. And I started my own after a while. And here I am, 4 kids. Lovely wife. My youngest son right now is on a mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Italy. He's in the Milan area right now.
Oh, right. I was grew up not grew up, but I lived in 2 years in Bergamo, which is right by Milano.
Yeah, so he's been in Milan. He's been that northern area. He's been all over, serving. So he's doing well, and we're just living the dream. I tell people all the time, even with the pandemic and with all this other stuff and 08 and everything, I've learned that I have more blessings than I do problems. And I've always tried to focus on those blessings. No matter how hard it gets, you focus on the blessings and you'll get through the problems.
Right. I always say, when people ask me how I'm doing, I like to say I'm better than most, not as good as some,
Amen. Yeah.
Because you should consider the fact that there are definitely people out there suffering a lot more than you are.
Oh, amen.
I love the although I'm not part of the church, I do love the community aspect and the mission idea. The idea of the mission is just such a great idea, is to give the youth a chance to prove to themselves, encourage them to find their own way of. It
really is. When he went out there, and we've taught our kids to be independent, to really go out there and to be independent. We try not to do helicopter bubble them. We want them to get out there and do things. And a mission really has been, especially with Jared. I've seen all my kids, but with Jared especially, he's been he's kind of a behind the scenes person, not going, but the testimony he's gained through the church, the things that he's learned, the study habits, the habits of budgeting, the habits of self-control, all those things. Because when they're out there, there's no TV, there's no movies, there's no dating, there's no nothing. I mean, you're there to share the word of Jesus Christ, and you're there to tell people and bring people closer to Christ.
Sure.
And so it's 24/7 then. And I think it's really has a good, like you said, a good discipline, and teaches them how to do that. And I told him, I says, look, it's their decision. Go, don't go. I mean, it doesn't get you any closer to Father one way, but it's a good experience, like you said. And when you come home, now you have traits that you've learned, hopefully that you'll stick to, that will help you in your family life, your career, everything else that you do. If you follow those traits in those teachings, study-wise, especially for college, if he wants to go to college, the study habits he has right now is just crazy. I keep on telling Lisa when she comes home, I said, we're going to have to up our game because, he's up at 5:30 studying, and and I'm like, okay, I need to start studying and working out.
Well, like I said, there's nothing more important than our kids, right? There really is. If you need to figure out what the meaning of life is, just look at your kids,
Amen.
And I think that's part of the reason why I'm doing this. I mean, during this pandemic and everything, trying to find a way to give back in some way, and it's funny because I figured out that one of the biggest things I have to offer the world is the great people I know. I can share the great people I know with the world, and I think that's pretty good. And in my view, I think that's a very, very, very important thing to do. And like I said, I was very fortunate. I've said this over and over again, but you never know when it's the first time someone's going to watch you or something. But for me personally, I was very lucky. I was surrounded by really interesting and nice people that were willing to share with me things. That's kind of why I tend to share too much sometimes, is because I don't want to miss an opportunity.
Yeah. No.
And if I see something and I'm excited about it, there's a chance somebody else might be excited about it too, right?
Exactly. And when you cut yourself short, when you say you have all these people that you want to share, I think what you share personally with yourself is just great wisdom for everybody.
Well,
your mind is great. So
I appreciate it. Anyway, so let's talk about photography.
Oh, okay. That's why, yeah, we're here about that. So yeah, I do have a portrait studio. There's a lot of lights and stuff. I was kind of wondering if I was on Hollywood set. I wasn't sure what's going on.
Anyway,
I turn my thing on already to show you. Well, it's a mess right now, so I won't turn the camera
no,
on.
it's all right. No,
It's a
yeah,
mess.
but we, like I said, we're going to share some of your work.
Yeah.
We're going to jump into that in a little bit, but real quick, one of the things I've noticed about your work, now this is where I analyze people's work a little bit, or share you my perspective of
Yeah, no.
and what I think is unique about your work. I kind of think that you have this storyteller attitude about photography, to where when you look at your subject, you're actually considering the consumer of your photography sometimes as much as you're considering the subject. So like when you take a shot of a person, you're also saying, what am I going to do with this shot once it's done? How can we tell a bigger story within that photo, that when they show it to someone else, they'll be able to feel more of the story than just someone posing in front of something, a corporate shot.
Yeah.
Am I accurate there in kind of?
No, you are, because a story, because I love movies. A lot of inspiration comes from movies. I love a good movie, and emotion. Those are two things. Anybody can stand in front of the camera. Anybody can stand behind the camera and push a button. Anybody can do that. But when you talk about lighting,
I'm not very good at it. But okay.
Yeah, So but what I'm saying is that when it comes down to creating an art piece, creating something, and I after 08 hit, and in 2010 is when all the digital cameras really start to hit. So I got kind of a double whammy. I was started in 04 my business, and doing very well because I had the best cameras around digitally. 08 hit, took a hit. And then 2010 came, all the digital cameras flooded the market. And so everyone became a photographer. So I had to change and pivot my perspective. I had to learn how to be an artist and take it to the next level, and not be just a photographer, but be an artist, and how to create those emotions and stuff like that. There's a story, I was doing a scene portrait several years ago, and Mom came in, and we're doing the headshot. She goes, "Oh, I want him to nice and tight, like she wanted that formal, that cool, that typical." I did it. I said, "Mom, let me do this stuff for you. Loosen the tie up." Because I can tell that with this big, nice, birdy, big, stocky guy like ourselves, loosen the tie up, got that, got him leaning against the wall, a little sack, a little cool look, kind of that James Dean, Steve McQueen, kind of that cool look. Hopefully your listeners will understand who they are.
Right.
And when I showed the pictures to the two, Mom about had a heart attack. She goes, "That is so him. That is exactly." She goes, "Oh." And of course, she got like a 30-inch portrait of that pose, not the one she requested, but the one that I did. Seeing the subject and stuff. So I think it's important that we see our subjects and kind of know who they are and what their personalities are.
Yeah, in commissioned artwork, it's funny. You can either give them what they want or you give them what they need, right? And I think that's where you get the professionals from the, I don't want to say amateurs, but yeah, I'll say amateurs. I think that's kind of the thing, is looking a little further. What is the goal here? What is the intent? And knowing, because I'm sure that you probably saw in his eyes that he was just doing this because his mom wanted him to. And then I'm pretty sure if he's showing the picture to his girlfriend or to anybody, he's probably showing the ones that you suggested.
Yeah. I've had a few stories like that. I did one where I did one. He wasn't a great looking young man, but he wasn't bad looking either. He was, people
are going to go through your library and try to figure out what you're talking about.
He's a good young man. Right. I love all kids. I love all the kids in this field. So, but, and so I'm doing, he had, keyboard and doing fun stuff like that. This really cool shots, and you've got the lighting and everything. This is hilarious. And Mom looked at the pictures and she came in, she goes, "That's not my son." I says, "Yeah, that's your boy." She goes, "No, it's not." I says, "That is your son." She goes, "No, if that's my son, I'm going to hell right now because I just had some bad thoughts."
Oh, Jesus.
I hit the floor. I was rolling. It's like, well,
okay.
I'm sorry. That is your son. And that's what you do. That's what you do with lighting. That's what you do about getting the personality out instead of just in there, doing stuff. So it's fun.
That's something that that's the first thing I remember noticing about you, is the lighting. Is you have a almost intuitive way of knowing See, for me, because I've dabbled in a little photography because of work and filming.
Yeah.
And I can't stand the lighting. I never know backlighting. It's always so confusing to me. But you nail it all the time.
Oh, thank you.
I'm not going to ask you how you do it. I'm sure there's a science to it, and I'm sure there's a lot of technical stuff that you probably do. But most of it is intuition, isn't it? I mean,
I think a lot. But I think what for me, you have to recognize how light falls on a subject. You have to recognize how light comes and reacts. The colors of light. Light has different colors. You look at fluorescent, or you look at hot lights or whatever. They're all different colors. And so when I take a person outside, like a high school senior, for example, if I take an executive outside, or a family, whatever, they're always backlit by the sun. The sun is the ambient light. But then I said, okay, where's the sun at? I got to place my strobes on one side or the other, so that it wraps around their face, so it looks more of a natural fill light versus if you had the sun over here and come lighten them up this way, and you put a strobe over here, and you got two shadows, then that doesn't make sense. So
right.
You just gotta know how light follows and how light flows.
Do you have a fine art background or anything? Did you take any fine art classes or things like that? I'm just asking. No, I guess not.
That's a no. So here's what I do. School of Hard Knocks. I mean, right. I just picked up a camera. I knew I wanted to start a business of my own. I knew I wanted to be a photographer. Once I got into it, I knew I wanted to have my own studio. I knew I could do it. And that's okay that I didn't go to a fine art school. I've watched and I've read the books and I've seen the books, but no, it's just
no, because I think that sometimes without even when I ask that, it's not because I put any, no offense to art schools, but I don't, it's not because I'm putting any value on having or not having one. I think that the reason I ask that is just out of curiosity, because I think you approach it kind of like a painter. I think that a lot of times you approach photography like a painter. And I was just wondering if there was something there. When I talk to young people about that, because, and then I can be program. You and I have been at that through the Henderson Chamber of Commerce. They have this great program where they send a bunch of professionals to talk to high school students. It's a long day. I don't know how teachers do that. I'm exhausted by the end of that.
Yes.
But you and I think we've been there a few times together, and I remember I've had some kids. I told them to go over to talk to you. They want to be photographers. A lot of them want to be photographers. But one of the first things I say to them, if you're not around, because I don't send them to you, is I ask them. I said, "Where's your camera?" And a lot of times they go, "It's at home. It's at whatever." And I go, "Well, you're not a photographer. If you were really a photographer, you'd always have a camera near you. Do you have your phone with you?" They go, "Yeah." "Does it have a camera on it?" I go, "Yeah." Well, there you go. Because you're basically, it's about realizing and understanding the framework and things and the visions and things that you see. And that's, you're never not working on that, right?
No, I'm always. I mean, back in the day, my camera, if you remember the old movie, Have Gun Will Travel, the TV show, remember that show? I love that TV show, man. But I had camera.
You're so
old.
Myself.
I know, right? People look it up. Have Gun Will Travel. Excellent. Anyway, have camera.
Sorry.
Yeah, it was, man. Have camera will travel. I love that, man. I carried it with me all the time. And I saw something. Disneyland, all the stuff with the kids. And I get like, oh my gosh, this is a lot of work taking that with me. But you're right. When I'm out and about, just out in the woods, or driving through the city, or driving through wherever, I'm always looking at, that made a great shot. I'm always looking and composing in my mind a shot, to keep my edges going.
Yeah, it's journalism. It's capturing a moment, and journalism doesn't have to just be about news and stuff. It's about capturing life, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's a really important. And it's unique. So go ahead.
No, as I said, in fact, I'm going to be teaching starting this week I'll be continuing education in photography and stuff, and then next spring we'll be doing street photography, doing kind of that journalism, just about capturing what's out there. Not nothing. Doesn't have to be ugly. Doesn't have to be. Could be capturing, like I said, life. This is what life is about. Whether it's just a rock, capturing this is something that makes you look good.
Well, I've dabbled in all sorts of creative stuff and all sorts of mediums, and photography is one that I like, but I'm not great at it. But my wife is. My wife is really good at it, and our house is filled with her photographs. And like I got like 2 paintings up, and she's got like 100 pictures of our daughter everywhere. But the my daughter was said the other day, there's so many pictures of her in the house. She goes, sometimes I walk in here and I feel like I died. Give the memorial to me.
let me tell you real quick.
Yeah.
Does she feel like she belongs to a group, and she feels like she belongs to something?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen people where there's no pictures, and there's studies out there that say if you don't have pictures of your kids on the wall or anything like that, they kind of feel like they're left out. They don't feel like they belong.
Interesting.
So there's studies out there that show that sample. So it's good for you having those pictures on your wall.
Yeah, I think they're up there because we can say, remember you used to be cute and sweet?
Now you're what? Is she 21? How old is she now?
She's 17 now.
Oh my gosh.
She's doing great theater and stuff
Yeah.
like that, and I'm really proud of how she's taking kind of a leadership role with her leadership with her theater team. I'm really proud of watching and seeing it. But anyway, yeah, and I think that I'm not exactly sure where I was going with this because I got a little sidetracked on that.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. This whole thing is about that. this whole talk is about that. But when we're talking to young people and they're interested in photography, I do recall a lot of these conversations that I tell them that it's not just about taking a picture. It's about knowing how to talk to people, understanding people,
Mm-hmm.
having because if you're going to be a photographer, you're going to be in a situation where you really need to capture moments.
Yeah.
And I think that I tell them now, okay, if you decided you're going to be creative, I don't care what kind of creative.
Yeah.
Now you have to be a student of people and humanity in essence, something like that. So now when you look at somebody reacting to something, look at how the light falls on them, look at their facial expressions,
Yeah.
look at how their shoulders are resting on them, or how their body is positioned in a certain situation. That's going to all become relevant when you're trying to tell a story through your photographs, right?
Well, I think also when you're photographed, but also I think when you're talking to the client and you're trying to, convince, especially if you're going to go to like a corporate office and you're talking to them, you have to understand the message that they want to send out. You have to capture that message. So communication is just as important as the photography part. Mm-hmm. It's learning how to talk to people, how to deal with people, because you can take pictures and be fairly great at it all the time, but if you can't talk to people and get the information out so you know exactly what they want, how they want it, it's going to be tough for a business. Even if you're doing a scenic photography and you're out there doing scenic and you're doing landscapes and stuff like that, and you're trying to sell them, you've got to know how to talk to people. So your communication to people, it's like what you always say, communication to people is important. Learn how to talk, learn how to confront people to get the story out, what you want.
Do you miss the romance of photography before digital? When you had to literally, you couldn't take a picture and check.
No.
You took a picture, and then maybe tomorrow, when you're in your darkroom, you started to see, right?
Yeah.
And there was this anticipation and this faith and trust and that you had to have.
Yeah.
That I kind of think is, I don't know if it's important, to be honest. I try to be open, but I do feel like so grateful that as an artist that I use digital art now. A lot of times I use the iPad and I use the but I started painting with brushes and oils, and my garage smells amazing now with the oil smell, even with a paint thinner in there, and I love that smell and the feel of the brush and the chaos of the look of it when I'm trying to make a line and it's not perfect, and I go, oh man, but then I look at it and I go, no, I like that. Good. And then that photography, I think, has the same thing, because did you know when you took a picture that's the one before you had the digital? Did you ever have those moments?
Very, very seldom. The one time, so back in the day, especially in the medium format world, which I use a lot of medium format for like portrait photography or in some scenes photography, you had the Polaroid back. Now people don't understand cameras. I should have brought my big camera here. Camera, you can take the back off. Remember the digital backs, not the digital backs, but the film backs. So you put a Polaroid back on it. Take your test shot. Yeah, looks good. Boom, boom, boom. So that was a big help. That was pre-digital.
Wow, I didn't know that was something that people did. I didn't know that was.
We did a lot of that. You on the big medium format cameras.
Interesting.
There's the backs come off for the different rolls of film, and so if you want black and white, you take your black and white, put the back on. You want color, you want a certain color. If you wanted that, you put that on. So every film was different in how it came out. So you did a Polaroid. But if you didn't have the Polaroid, yeah, you better knew how to, what the lighting was doing. You have to understand manual, which people don't understand manual very much anymore. Your exposure, your f-stops. You better understand your your apertures and your shutter speed. Understand if I have it wide open, that's a lot of light. How much light do I want in? You have to, and so you have to understand all that. I think that's a big part of it. You're right though. There's a romance that's gone. You take that anticipation, if you will, too. You take those pictures and then you sit all night or 2 nights and you're like, oh, did I mess up? What did I do wrong? And you analyze yourself. You analyze what you could have done better, what you did, whatnot. Like you, what I miss is a dark room. To me, there's nothing, having the low light, the red lights, having the fixer and the developer smell.
Yeah.
It's like a legal buzz. Yeah. I get in there, it's like, oh yeah. It's just soothing, man. It's just soothing. And then
we had a bathroom in the house that was our dark room, and I remember it had the black curtain and it was the red light inside. It was
it's calming. But when you see that in the fixer and developer, you see this on a paper, you start to see it come to life. That's what you created. Right. And it's amazing. It's just an amazing thing, and it's unfortunate it could be a lost art. Well, actually, it's funny because there's a lot of kids nowadays that are in their 30s or thereabouts. They go, oh, this film camera. Oh, look what it does. Look at this and that. Yeah, yeah. It's like the vinyls. Vinyls are coming back huge. Right. It's like they're bringing these film cameras back. It's like, yeah, they're the bomb. So, you're right.
I'm proud that I showed Ellie a tape, like a cassette tape, and she knew what it was and how it worked. She knew
cassette or 8-track.
Yeah, no, it's cassette. Yeah, my first 8-track player was so funny. I was just talking to somebody about this. That I loved the radio when I was a kid. I would listen to the radio all the time. And it was in Orange County, and then I was like, I got to go to school. But in the morning, I would play the radio, and I was so annoyed by the music I was missing when I was in school that I had an 8-track player under my TV, and I would just turn on the radio real low, and I just hit record and let it record so that when I came back, I just listened to the tape. I could have just turned on the radio again, but I wanted to hear what I missed.
What you missed? What did I miss? Yeah.
And it's really interesting because a lot of my musical tastes were formed from that cassette tape, because that tape I would just listen to over and over again, and then and it turned into this thing. Instead of just listening to the radio and hearing it, I would hear these particular songs, and they became my album for a few weeks until I recorded over it. Anyway, those are things that people aren't going to experience anymore, or even cassette tapes, That was another thing.
With a pencil, and I had to rewind it with a pencil.
Yeah, or just making a mixtape, right?
Oh, I know.
For a girl or for a friend or something like that.
Yeah.
That was. I don't know how they do. I don't know if they do that now. I don't
think so. So it's what, Spotify or something, or
they'll send them a playlist or something, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah,
but I used to.
That's
pictures,
now it's like keyboard, send. And before it was like you took the time, there was meaning and there was stuff behind it. Now it's like, send it.
I'm going to title this talk "A Couple of Old Gen Xers Talking About Grumpy about Everything." But anyway,
two grumpy old men.
Yeah, really talking about the old days, back gray-haired beards. Back in the old days, kids don't even know.
That's it, man. We earned these things, man.
I know, right? I agree. I don't even trust people without beards anymore, to be honest. Or men without beards.
I'm saying, careful where you go with that one.
Right, I'm just kidding.
I mean, digital has brought I hated it when it first came out. I fought against it. But digital has brought such a great creative crew out into the world, into the digital world, and it's done so much for photography. And what we can do nowadays with photography, it extends to where we really couldn't do it. I mean, now, and I didn't send you one, but about a month ago, I went out to Panguitch and photographed a cowboy and photographed a fly fisherman. So I took 3 shots. So basically it was, I don't think I sent them to you. You have to look at my Facebook page for them. I don't think I sent this to you. But
I'm going to go ahead and bring this up. I was just bringing up the photograph so we can go ahead and take a look at them.
So I've been photographing. So you get like a 24 millimeter lens, let's say. And so you go vertical. So if you're standing there like this, I'm going to go vertical. I'm going to go vertical 1, 2, and 3. Capture those 3 images. I'm going to put them together that way. but now I'm creating a lens that doesn't exist. Nice wide, 24 millimeter vertical, but it's so I'm creating things that don't exist, and I'm able to put them together in a high definition type of look. I've done it before where it's you have three, you go 24, 40, whatever millimeter you choose, but you go up and down, you go boom, 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 and you stitch those three images together. Now, the capture on the cameras is a 24 megapixel camera. So now I take three of those together. My files are almost a half a gig files by the time I put them all together. And so the print, what you can print with those bad boys are enormous, and the clarity is as sharp as like that. So there's a lot of things that digital has brought out, the graphic artwork and graphic stuff that you've seen. And, but it's just a cool world out there right now.
Right. So I'm going to bring this up.
Yeah.
So we can chat a little bit about these shots. I just picked a few of these.
Yeah. No, I know. I vomited on your page. I'm sorry on that.
Sent me a lot. You sent me a lot of stuff. So I'm just going to go through some of these, but these are some that caught my eye. This is kind of what I'm talking about with lighting. This is a very dark picture, but and the light is very subtle on it. But I really liked it.
Thank you. Diego is went to school here at Basic. He's a great saxophonist. He has played with he's played with people over at the Smith Center on their jazz area. I can't remember the guy's name right now, but one of the the B players out there. He's open for them and stuff like that. He's played some pretty big gigs. But just a wonderful sax player, wonderful young man. He's probably about 20, 21, and he just wants something really cool. He likes the hat, and he had the boots. I saw him walk in. I says, I just need kind of a cowboy-ish type of just cool look. He's just a good kid.
Yeah, this is why I love you, man. I show you a picture of yours to talk about, and all you did is talk about the kid. I didn't say anything about the shot. Or
it's two lights. It's three lights. It's two lights. I can tell you.
I know, but I'm just saying. That's why I appreciate you, and I think that's fantastic. But okay, so let's go ahead and look at the next one here. This is an intense individual.
Naldo, love Naldo. He's a MMA boxer. He's an MMA fighter. He's a boxer, and he is Taekwondo. And so we hooked up. I need to get some more athletes on the shot. Again, this is kind of like a three light shot, and there's two lights on the side, one down the middle, and then in the post you kind of give it a little intense look. But just again, super nice guy.
Yeah.
I went to his birthday party a couple weeks ago, and just a good family man, good guy.
With terrifying fists.
I don't want to meet him in the back alley, man. I do not want to meet him in the back alley. So we did have some fun shots with him.
It's very cool. Very cool.
Zeke.
This is a pretty powerful. See, this is the lighting on this is pretty amazing. It almost looks like a painting to me.
Well, there you go. Again, it's three lights. You got two rim lights, and then you got an overhead, and that's a beauty dish what I use over the top. But again, you want to show off his character and what he wants. Now, he was getting ready to try out for Miami Dolphins. This is about a year ago I did this picture. And so he was getting ready to do it for Miami and do a walk-on for Miami. And he's been prepping. I says, you need a shot. So I says, dig it to him. I says, send that to Miami. Tell them you're ready. I mean, to me, it's like if an NFL player, NFL team doesn't look at that picture and say, why is he not playing for us? I don't know their problem is. I mean, that's intense.
He's all muscle.
Intense. Yeah, and that's what you want to do. You want to contour his muscles and you really show off. In my photography, I want to show off their attributes and hide the negatives. We all have negatives, and so I want to hide those. And I want to show off the attributes.
There's just a great intensity in his face too. He's clearly in the zone when he in the picture.
Again, super nice guy. Just he comes up to me. They call him Zeke, but it's I know he's got two biblical names for that, but just a super nice guy. Nice guy. Now I'm my airplane guy.
Did you wait for the time of day for this shot? Because it's perfect time of day. It looks like.
It was. I'm trying to think. It was cold that day. That's for sure. It was like January. It was darn cold for that day. Windy. So I couldn't do a lot of the lighting I wanted to do because I only had the one assistant, and it was just windy as crap. Dave is a super nice guy. He actually works out at Keach Air Force Base. out there. And he says, I got this plane, one red plane. That plane, I love that plane. I fell in love with that thing. I don't fly, and I could not fit in his cockpit because it's just that narrow, man. It is narrow. And you look at it, and there's a couple, one or two technical, things that he has to have, but it's a joystick. He flies like this is a joystick. Like, I love it.
You must love this picture. This is a big time hero shot here.
Yeah, there was. We did another one with him looking out. But that, again, the sun is. I think it's first thing in the morning because that's North Las Vegas Airport and the Sunrise Mountains off to my left, and so that's sunrise. So it was probably about 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the morning, and just added a couple. I added one strobe. I wanted to add 2 strobes to really bounce the light better, but it was windy, and I just didn't have enough crew there to help me do it the way I wanted to.
That's great. That's somebody who has something to say, and I'm willing.
That's what we're going to do with you. We're going to get you in here. We're going to make you like intense. Yes, and that's the whole thing. What's his message? He's I don't know if you know Kevin or not. Super nice guy. He's a business coach. And as a business coach, you want to have someone who looks strong. You want to have that strength and power.
Yeah.
And so I've
seen this picture before in something. I think I've seen it used already.
Probably on Facebook, or I know it's on LinkedIn. He's on LinkedIn a lot. If you're on LinkedIn, he's out there. Kevin's he's just a super, again, good guy. Again, that's more like what I call a split light. And it's just basically half his face is lit, except there's just that little bit of light that comes into his eyes. You got to, you have to like those eyes and doing that. So I have fun making, guys look just mad.
Right. This one, it's great.
Shep, if you know Shep, he's out here. A lot of people know him. Shep, he is an old-time Henderson guy. I said, I want to do a Cowboy Series, and so did some Cowboy stuff. It's actually in his house. Shot that on a gray background, actually, and I changed the background on him. I put more barred wood on there. And just a huge, and actually, I was lighting him from the opposite side. And the clouds or something changed. Because on where he's looking at, he's got a huge, probably 3 foot by 4 foot window, and something changed, and he turned his head, and that lighting was just beautiful. I was like, oh my gosh, Shep, don't move. I says, we got to fix that. I just adjusted a few things, and I says, look over here, and then boom, caught that. Yeah. Just an amazing guy.
Always watching, right? You're always watching for.
You got to watch where the light comes. If you're using strobes, you better know how that strobe comes. But if that sunlight, actually the sunlight, you just watch for that beautiful light. Watch how it comes down.
That's cool.
Onto there.
Look at that.
Rodney, another part of my cowboy thing. Basically, that's just one light, one, when I like about my cowboys and so few of these guys, look at their hands. And I tell the kids all the time, look at their hands. They've worked. You can tell these guys, they're out working their hands, they're digging, they're hanging the wood, they're bricks, whatever. I mean, it's just great character,
Yeah, I want to be this guy when I grow up, man.
Right? That's his dad's Colt. That's his dad's gun.
Yeah.
So that's got a great meaning. And it was actually fun. I was doing some photography. I was doing a bunch of stuff, and here's just him and I goes, I need some cards. I said, where's my cards? They're disappearing. I told Ronnie, Rodney, don't go nowhere. I ran to Walmart, picked up my poker chips, picked up the cards, came back, and got him photographs. I knew what I wanted, and I saw him from there. I said, I got to have a poker player.
That's so great. That is really great. Now, this is something.
So, question, did she dance in the water?
I can't figure it out. See, I know that you do work after the photograph, but I imagine that she would have to be in water for you to do this.
100% in the studio, 100% doing what she does. I added the water.
Oh, it is so good.
Thank you.
Yeah, it just looks like totally like she even with the reflection and everything.
Here's the deal with water. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Here's the deal with water. Again, like I say, you understand how light flows. If you throw water at something, or if you're throwing your hand out with your hands all wet, you should know how the water and where it goes, how the motion goes. Does that make sense what I'm saying? So if she's throwing her arms back and kicking, how is the water going to react to what is she doing?
Yeah, credit to her also to be doing that move and still keeping this calm eye contact with you. Like she has this like totally calm, unstrained face.
Yeah.
And I would be in traction after that. I would be, I could never do anything in that.
She's a wonderful young lady. We did a lot of great things. A dancer, and she goes to a dance studio up here that we work with. She does. I mean, they're just kicking butt. We have a lot of fun. But yeah, that's all post production. Understanding how the water would flow if she was actually wet or jumping through water.
Yeah, I'm familiar with this place.
You know, I'm glad I have that shot because it's going to change. It is changing, and I've got one. I should have sent it to you. I took when I first got here, I was working my butt off, you know, how we do. It was 2:00 in the morning. Seriously, it was 2:00 in the morning on a February night, and it was raining. And so I stepped out of the studio, I needed a break. I said, oh, it's raining. Looked down Water Street, and it is beautiful. Black and white. I said, oh, mine's black and white. So I've got a beautiful black and white from outward, you know, from about a water in Atlantic going down towards Vegas. So you see the Strip, and you see the El Dorado, you see the Rainbow, you see all these old, you know, buildings and stuff like that are being torn down or redone and stuff like that. So I mean, I'm glad I've got a few of those pictures.
This area is the it's kind of like ground zero for Henderson. It's the where everything started in Henderson, and his Mikel's studio is right on this street. It's on Water Street. This is the most historic area of Henderson, Nevada. Henderson was founded as a tent town for the magnesium plants for the war. And a lot of people probably live here don't know that magnesium is kind of the metal that it was called the miracle metal, I think, of World War II, I believe.
Yeah, World War II started like that. But what a lot of people don't know, they go, why would you name the high school Basic? That's just the dumbest. But they don't. It's like everything else. You name things after companies or after people start. So Basic Magnesium was the magnesium company that came to Basic. You know, came down here, started in Henderson. So therefore, you have Basic Road, you have Basic High School, you have, you know, our basic needs, I guess.
Right. A lot of history in the area. Boulder City as well.
Yeah.
Because of the Hoover Dam, and Henderson has a lot of that as well. And I think it's important for people to know those things. I think that there's a lot of interesting history that.
Again, I had that shot one of those days where I had camera that traveled with me. I just happened to have it and looked at it. Oh my gosh. And took it. And it's funny because City of Henderson and a few other people said, can we have that shot? I says, yes, here's the bill.
Right.
You know.
Here's a great picture. This is like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me right now?
No, our Santa Claus.
Please. That is and which one is that? Because we have a few.
No, this is the Santa Claus. This is the Santa Claus. The real Santa? This is a real Santa. I don't mess around. If I'm I'm calling the big guns. I'm calling the big guns.
Okay, sounds good.
You know, Santa Bob. Anyway, he is just the best. And I've always been when it comes to these kind of portraits, and Santa, in the big red suit and the big belly and you know, I think sometimes that can be overwhelming for kids, and it can be kind of scary. He's not that. He's more of the Charles Dickens, which I love Charles Dickens stories. I love the movie The Christmas Carol and all that stuff. But I love those movies, and so that's what he works out. Again, this is more of our Santa experience, and it's an hour session, and they tell a story, and it's a blast. The kids watching the kids.
And just look at that. It's just so great. I mean, it just makes you happy.
You're at Santa's workshop, man. There's Santa's den.
Yeah.
You know.
Here's another one. Now this man. This is now
same one, same person.
Okay, there you go. So I didn't realize it was the same Santa. But when I've seen him at the library at the event that they have every year.
He was for many years. Yeah, for many years he was Henderson Santa, out there, and it just got too cold for him.
And one thing I do remember about him, is that this is a more traditional outfit that he wears. I think it's historically accurate, but he also smelled of cinnamon.
Yeah. No, he does.
Which was amazing. You would walk and you would smell
cologne.
You'd look around and he'd be standing right next to you or something.
Super nice guy. And this is from one of my art collections that I have that I work with, creating. I call it digital art, call it whatever. I just call it a commission art piece. You know, art is art, be it digital or be it oil. And so it's just, I need you to stand there, Stan. I want to give you something. So I made a print like that. Just something nice.
That is
you know.
nice. It's very nice. And speaking of the city, I mean, here's our fun mayor.
Yeah, yeah. Deborah, she's a rock star. I love her.
Yeah, she's great.
Just, it's interesting. We did that, and she won the Woman of Distinction Award a couple years ago in that, and very well deserved. She photographed her in there for her award and so forth. And her assistant says, "This is awful dark. You can't photograph." I mean, their lights were on. And she goes, "You need more lights? I'll bring people in more lights." I says, "No, I have 2 or 3 strobes in there at the time." And I lit it up and did what my magic and do what I do and showed her the picture. She goes, "No one's ever been able to ever get a great photo in here."
That's right.
How'd you do that? I says, "You have to understand how lighting works. You have to understand the aperture of your camera, understand the shutter speed of the camera, understand how ambient light works accordingly.
Yeah.
Just do it."
Yeah.
25 years, you just do it. You're like, what? You just do it.
You just do it. It's a great shot of her, and she's a great lady. She's always treated me with respect and always been kind of before she was mayor, and bumped into me at a coffee shop and just sat down and we talked for an hour. Just talked about the city, talked about things that were going on, and everything. She's a great lady. But now this is the series I was really, really intrigued by, and one of the things I love the most about your series is this one.
Yeah.
Can you explain what you were trying to do with this series? I mean, this series literally gives me goosebumps, man.
I tell you, and thank you for that. I love Bernie. There's a story about Bernie. I love Bernie. Anyway, so this is, about 3 years ago, my uncle is probably one of my heroes. He turned 80. So we went to his 80th birthday party up in Utah. And he was kind of like my father figure type thing. And just a rock solid guy, and fishing, hunting, all those things he showed me. And for his 80th birthday, he was in the Army during the Korea era. Never went and saw a battle in Korea, but he was stationed in Europe. And so for his 80th birthday, his son-in-law got him a full replica of his uniform from back in the day. I've only seen the man cry once before in all the years I've known him.
Yeah.
The boy blubbered like a baby. I was like, what the crap? And so we're talking, and he'd give me like 600 slides of his 35 millimeter slides to, just digitize so you can have on file. So I made a book for his birthday. I made a book with all the pictures. And he told me, and we can go through that book, and out of the 600, probably about 85%, there was a story behind it. He knew still. I'm telling my cousins, get this stuff on tape so you have it. And I started thinking, the emotion he had about his service. The stories I love about what he told me is about how he hitchhiked one year from back east, hitchhiked across the country to come home for Christmas to see his mom, my grandmother, at the time, and to Pioche, and how he was hitchhiking in his uniform and how he was treated and how he respected and did things. And I started thinking, there's more stories out there that are like that. There are more of these great stories that we need to remember. And I'm not looking for the Saving Private Ryan or Big Meats type story. I'm looking for a story of just, a human story of their character. And so I thought, okay, I need to do a World War II veterans kind of project. And that's where I started. And then it turned into because we're losing those guys very quickly because of their age. They're in their 90s. And then I did some reading, and we're losing our Vietnam and our Korean guys just as fast because of the Agent Orange. And so I says, okay, I'm going to include World War II, Korea, and Vietnam, that era. I mean, they called World War II the greatest generation, but I think all three of those, that whole era, there's usually about a generation, half or 2 generations. To me, those 3 generations are probably some of the greatest men I've ever seen.
There is greatness in all red generations, right?
There is.
It's just a matter of who you're talking about, I think.
Well, I just think because it was a different time, and war was different than before Desert Storm and all that stuff. It was very different.
No, I agree. Totally.
Go back to Bernie real quick.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go back to Bernie. So again, he never saw, and some of these guys never saw, combat or anything, but he was a photographer learning how to be a combat photographer. And so he would have to go up in B-17s and fly around, take pictures, and he had all these assignments. And then he was in charge in Washington, in charge of cataloging all the images that came back from the war. And he's got pictures from the D-Day landing, and some of them will give you chills. I looked at them, And just the chills went down my spine, seeing some of these 18 and 19-year-old boys crawl on the beach and just, you know, you like that, you just cry. But the one thing story is that he had to learn how to take photos of a certain subject while the B-17 was dive bombing at 10,000 feet.
Wow.
I'm thinking, be flipping cool, scary as all heck. I'd have to change my underwear, but I'd just be cool, you know. And that little picture of him in the front, that's him.
Yeah, I figured I could see it in the eyes a little bit there.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, so
you know, Nathan, he's a good guy. He's 100 years old when I took that picture. He's passed now.
Yeah.
You know, but he was in Europe, and he was an accountant. He didn't do anything, but he did a great story. He did the country he served and loved, and did his part as an accountant. So, I mean, there's really, again, it's not about, you know, saving or doing anything big and bad. It's just, you know, you did your service. You did what you're asked to do.
Yeah.
You sacrifice, you know.
Definitely.
And that's what I hope this project brings out to people that, look at, you know, helping others, sacrifice your time, whether it's you join the army or whether you join, you know, a church thing or the city, do something and sacrifice some of your time to give to others. And that's what this is all about, what these guys did, man.
It's just nice to honor them and to give them a moment and show them that we care enough to have you sit here and have your picture taken so beautifully, you know, and a great portrait for their families.
You know, and they're very simple lighting, very simple background. I didn't want to make it all big, flashy and everything like that. I just wanted something very simple. So it's just one large, you know, softbox, just to light them up. And
well, its simplicity created a treasure, I think, for a lot of people. Yeah. I think it's very nice effort that you definitely made there.
You know, Charles, his story is just cool. So, and this is part of the thing I love about these stories. I come home and watch these and tell the stories again. It gets me excited. And my wife would get so mad at me. She goes, really? She was jealous because I'd come home with all these stories that these guys tell me. Then he was Charles was part of the 23rd Field Infantry Battalion. If anybody knows anything about the 23rd or 213th Battalion, they're a bunch of farmers from Southern Utah. 600 guys, a bunch of Southern Utah, St. George, Hurricane, a bunch of young men that went to Korea, and their story's great. And there's a book about them, a couple books about them, how, you know, they have about half their battalion, that Battalion A, Battalion B. Battalion A was so about 300-400 guys fought off several thousand Chinese people. And it was reported that not one bullet, the Chinese just gave up because they couldn't kill these guys. Most of them were LDS, and there was a promise made if they stayed true, if they lived, you know, and basically the 10 Commandments. You just true to yourself and true to your, you know, to your family and everybody else, you'll be protected. And every one of those guys came back home.
Wow.
You know, and it just the stories are great. So, you know, that's what I love about this whole thing.
That's actually, you know, just to take a little segue here for people that are listening, you know, I think a lot of people should take advantage of this theory that I think that you've put into practice through these pictures, and I put into practice personally in my life, is that if you're even slightly curious about somebody, make the time to listen to their story, you know, and it's so worth it. I did that for a while when I was just certain people. I just if I had time, I just call them. I say, "You want to get some coffee? I just want to talk to you." And you know, when you're in business, they think that you're networking, and I literally didn't say anything about work. All I did is ask him, "Tell me your story, and I want to hear about it." And then it's hard to believe, but I actually would shut up and listen, and actually, it was always great. It was always something really intriguing. People really surprise you when you actually give them the chance to tell you their story. It's pretty neat.
Well, and like you said, I think nowadays everyone wants to get their word out about me. If you you know, you and I sometimes have a hard time doing it, but if we would just be quiet and listen to other people, you'll find out that they're not as bad as what we might think they might be.
Oh, yeah, both. Yeah, exactly. Especially nowadays, I think we need to do more of that.
Yeah, I hate that. Yeah. Oh, you know, this is probably one of my favorite images. This is Colonel William, full-fledged, full-bird colonel, Vietnam War. He was airborne. His story is just great. This was in the Boulder City nursing home, the veterans home. Full-blown dementia. He has full-blown dementia, and his uniform fits. And I try to, you know me, I'm respectful. I'm going to go up there and I'm going to talk to him. I just honor him for his service. And I saw him come out in a uniform. They had a chair there. I said, I know you wouldn't sit down. I know how I want this to look. And it was funny because I'm getting to take his picture. I'm talking to him so he understands. So he's watching me. I said, all right, Colonel, I'm getting ready to go. I'm getting ready. I'm going to go. And all of a sudden he goes, rah, like that. And his wife goes, that's him. He came out of that dementia state just for a second for whatever reason, you know, and his wife was just bawling her eyes out. She goes, that's him. He's always a jokester, always like, you know, and then I got this little smile and grin, and she was, and what a great memory that now her family has of her husband and his dad, stuff like that. Just so bad.
That's a fantastic story.
You know, yeah, and if I can just bring people those little memories and keep these old treasures, these things, too many times, and I say it all the time, you know, in BNI, we ask, we're going to do our program. What's the why? What's the why? Why do I do this? People say, well, my family and, you know, my family, my dogs, and blah, blah, blah. I get that. But the why for me is because he won't be around for a long time, unfortunately. And now you have this portrait of him. And the why is you get to see him every single day. It's like you. Your daughter's going to go to college someday. Right. You know, someday, you know, with your blessing or not, probably with your blessing in a 22, you know, a 12 gauge shotgun, you know, with a guy, he'll say, he'll be nice, and, you know, she'll find the right guy. And she'll go away. And, you know, like, you know, I've had a son that we lost a son when he was 20. Oh, and so I see all my 4 kids, even though we're empty nesters, I see them every day in my house. My kids are on my wall. I see them every day, and they bring a smile to our face. And that's the why I do a lot of this, is because I think it's important that the cell phones, people think, oh, I'll put it on Facebook and it's on Facebook. Well, then you don't see it for another year, you know, until you get a reminder or something like that. Here, you know, like she gets to see her husband every single day now. I get to see my kids every single day, and it brings happiness to me. So yeah, that's the why.
That is definitely an important part of this. I was actually trying to pull up a thing I was going to share with you. Yeah. Because it was kind of an intense thing I was kind of feeling, is that the kids, right? And him having dementia and being in the hospital, and I have a father that is living with me now, getting older. Yeah. And there is this little bit of a struggle. It's like, you know, the man you knew is different now. And in the man he was becomes a memory. Yeah. And what you did is you brought back the man they probably remembered through this photograph, even the look on his face, and it brought it back for them.
It's strong.
Yeah. And there's a song. I'll share it with you probably later, but it's called "The Man in the Bed Isn't Me." Have you heard that song before?
No, I haven't. That sounds interesting.
It's a beautiful song about an old man in an old folks home, and he's just reminiscing about the man in the bed isn't me. You know, these hands used to be strong. They could soothe. Yeah. They could hammer a nail or soothe the baby that's crying, but you don't know. Wow. You don't know that because you know, I'm just this old guy in a bed, and it reminiscing about who he was, and this entire series made me feel that. I'm going to send it to you, and I'll probably put a link to that song just because I think it's relevant to your story.
Yeah, you're gonna watch me bawl my eyes out. Yeah, I get you. I understand.
No, it's good. It's a really good song, and you will, actually. If you don't, I think there was something wrong with you.
No, I tell you, it's the age. I know there's something. My eyes are more weepy than they used to be. Yes.
All right. I think that's good.
It is.
I think that shows. I think that's manly, being able to show that side of you.
I think part of that is because of our experience. You know, and that's, the experiences make us who we are. Yeah. And so like that. Oh my gosh, Dean, he is, man, his story. Okay, imagine you're 19, maybe 20. You're the navigator for the B-17s. And then you're also the bombardier. 19, 20. What were you doing when you're 19, 20, Alex? What were you doing?
I don't know, playing video games.
Yeah. You weren't 20,000 feet up, were you?
For sure.
You know. And he's one of the very few who's got all 4 wings, and I can't remember that one. But he several missions, probably his 18th or something like that mission. His tail wing got shot off. They shot off his tail wing. And over the thing, and there was he has a picture of it because not that he took, a National Geographic photographer was in another plane and took the picture of their plane being shot down with the tail wing coming off. And so at 20,000 feet, he bails because he got you. And his parachute was about half on, maybe 2/3 on. And so he's jumping, going down. And he's trying to struggle. He can't do it because the velocity of the wind. He can't do it. And he says, it get down to about 2,000 feet. He says, I got to pull my cord or I'm going to just splat. Pulls it, comes down. And as he pulls it, comes down in the chute, he realizes the whole thing is on. He says, I don't know how it came on. He says, it was all together. I don't know how he did it. And we talked, and there was tears in his eyes, and he still weeps about it. He says, I know there's angels watching me because I couldn't do that. And then to continue the story is that there was German people shooting at him.
Sure.
You know, and so they're missing. And a German officer, because he was landing next to a POW, he landed next to a POW camp. And a German officer told the people, the village people, quit shooting. So the German officer saved this guy's life.
Wow.
Took him in, and then actually Patton. They had to do it for a march or whatnot.
I lost you a little bit there. Can you say that again about?
No, it's about Patton, how General Patton came through and liberate the POW camp. But that was like a year later or so. But they talked about the march. And to me, the whole story was, this man was saved by, you know, the grace of God, for one, I think, because of his parachute. But for two, the enemy, the German enemy, who we all think, oh, you know, saved him and told the people to stop shooting. And to me, and he went back and was trying to meet the guy, but never could meet him until he passed. But to me, that shows humanity in just people. Sure. And sometimes during war, sometimes during other things, there's foot soldiers. I got to do what I got to do, or I get shot, whatnot. But the humanity of that person who saved Dean's life, and that what Dean, you know, became and did for other people, it's just amazing. Just a great story. And I've got his story. He wrote a book, and I got that book. It's a great book.
You know, yeah, I had a couple more, but I think we're.
Oh my gosh,
we're getting.
Yeah, you know, 2 hours. We can, you know me.
We have a couple more in there, but I think that I think I'm going to mention that too. I think this is an important time to. I like finding reasons to honor a military and everything, and I kind of think this chat kind of went in that direction. I think in honoring your choice to do that in your work, I think I think that's an important thing, and I think that's kind of, I'm going to put that in the comments on this thing.
Well, right now, just for those who are interested, that display, there's 25 images of those guys all down at the Flamingo Library on display in the gallery right now.
Oh, perfect. Okay, perfect.
And then, so people down there. And then in October, we're going to move it to the Summerlin Library.
So, but they could also see them on your website? Yes,
it's on my website. You can see them there. My Facebook page, you can see them there. You can see them. And on my website, it's under projects. So if you look at projects and be the, you know, say, remember our vets.
So let's kind of gonna wrap up the conversation here, you know, because we got to end at some time, right? So
I haven't seen you in a while because all this pandemic stuff. You know, we don't get out.
I know
networking and stuff. You know, you're the
this is a good way to do it. We captured the conversation. Makes me happy.
I always enjoy talking to you, man.
Oh yeah, same here. But so let's just close it up a little bit. Maybe can you do you know, one of the things that I like about us, because one of the things, and there's certain people that I know that have a thing that they do all the time. Laird had this, you know, and you know, good friend Laird, you know, that we lost a while back. But you and I, whenever we meet in person, we always do the high five. You know?
Bam.
That's right.
And if it doesn't,
loud and it hurts, man. My hand is just ringing. If ringing had a feel, that's what it feels like.
Yeah.
And I love that. I think that's fantastic. And I remember one time we were doing that with some of the kids at the high school. We're just like, boom.
You know,
it's pretty great.
And I told the kids that, you know, when I saw the kids, you know, high five the kids, high five, you know, a good high five.
Yeah.
Going around. And part of my spiel was, let's look at your marketing, and if you want to be a photographer, how are you going to set yourself out different? And I said to these kids, I says, when you go around, you're going to talk to 40, 50 people. Who are you going to remember? Joe Schmo talking about this or that, or you can remember some guy who gave you a big old high five, made your hand sting. You're going to remember me. You're going to remember what we did. You know?
So speaking of kids, give me one more thing. Advice, something that you would give. There's a young person who's been watching this, curious about photography, and you're sitting there, and what should they do if they want to do it? What advice would you?
So two things. So first is, I would say the most important decision that a young person will make in their life today is their friends, on who they choose to hang out with and who their friends are. That will influence every decision they make they're going forward. You understand that? Second, if they're looking to be a photographer, I would say, and I've had this question asked, which photography class should I take? Which art class? Which this? I said, go take a business class. Go understand business. Because like I said, I went to school in Hard Knocks, 0 college. Okay, well, 1 semester of one business class and 1 semester of a photography class. That was it. Everything else is a passion, of love, and just getting in and doing it.
And making mistakes.
Yeah, and then that's, you make a million mistakes, so you learn how to fix it maybe correct one. But I tell the kids nowadays, look, don't worry about photography. Go out and learn how to be a business person. Because at the end of the day, if you want to have a business, a photography business, be it a portrait studio, be it a commercial studio, be it selling landscape art, it's a business. It is a business first. And you can be the best widget maker in the world, but if you don't understand business and how to work, how to make those cold calls, how to pick up the phone and saying, hey, can we talk? I'd love to show you my portfolio sometime. How can I help you do it? If you don't make 50, 60 of those calls a day and understand how to do that, you're not going to make it.
Right.
And I've seen a lot of times some of the most popular photographers out there aren't the best, but they're great marketers. They're great at business, and they get their face out in front of people, which makes them more relevant.
That is such good advice. I mean, and it's funny because you're not actually the first person to say that. Because I ask a lot of people to give advice, and I had an architect friend say that too. And it's funny because they don't think about that. They don't think about the value of that when it's so insanely valuable is to have at least a grasp of how to run a business, or even how to build a team. And that's where the friendship thing is important too, and knowing how to be around people that support you and that are able to do that too. That's a big part of it.
Well, it is, and especially if you're in photography, and now you have assistants, you have a crew. Well, how do you treat them? What are you going to do? I mean, it goes back to people and communicating and understanding how people, and we all have different values. We all have different personalities, and we all learn differently. We do things differently. You might be an A personality. I'm a B personality. We better understand how we can communicate between those 2 personalities so we get the desired result.
Mm-hmm.
So I tell the kids all the time, business, if you're not sure about, take a business class, and that will help you in no matter what you want to do. Family life, if you're going to manage a tire store, it's a business. You're going to learn, you'll understand how to manage it.
Well, we don't talk often, my friend, but when we do, it's always a pleasure. And I need you to know that although we don't talk often, I hold you in extremely high regard, and
thank you.
I value your friendship.
Thank you. It's mutual. It's mutual.